Hey friends, so you're ready to make the straight fit joggers, but you're not quite sure how to adjust them for height and all that measuring and all that type of stuff? Let me help you with it. Let's get started. Alright, so first there's a couple measurements we need to take of ourselves or the model, the person we're making the joggers for. So number one is height. How tall are they? So I am 5'7", so I'll write that down. Now, the second thing that we need to do is we need to measure from our crotch area to the bend of your knee. So let me get my tape measure. All right, here it is. I've tied my top out of the way and I've got this helpful chair to help me measure my lower. Okay, so I'm gonna start first with my inner and I'm gonna start at the crotch and I'm gonna go to that bend of the knee, and that's 14 for me. So whatever that is from the crotch to the bend of the knee, that is your upper inseam. So write down 14. Did you write it down? Okay, now we're gonna do from the knee bend down to the ankle. So measure from the knee bend to the ankle, and that's your next measurement. Okay? All right, so now that I've got my measurements, we can talk about what we need to do to our pattern pieces so that our joggers fit perfectly. And you might have seen my joggers when I was measuring my leg and you probably were like, those fit a little short. Yeah, just a tad, because I didn't measure my leg, my inseam when I did these pair. And so that's why they're a little bit shorter, because now as I measure myself, I realized that I was supposed to add some length to it and I didn't. So don't do as I do as I say, so you get that perfect fit, better fit than mine. All right, so let's first of all talk about our height. So the first thing you have to figure out is how tall you are. I told you I'm 5'7", and this pattern tells me, and it's taped right now because I had already cut it when I made my other one. I did adjust for height. Okay, so this pattern is drafted for 5'10". Okay, I'm 5'7", which means I'm shorter than the 5'10" it's drafted for. If you're shorter than 5'10", you're gonna subtract a total of 3/4 inch. And if you are taller than 5'10", you're gonna add 3/4 inches. So that's the only thing you're doing. You're either subtracting or you're adding 3/4 inch, okay? Unless you're 5'10", then you're just the perfect height. So then I'm gonna subtract the 3/4 inch at this line. Now this is the hip line, and the reason why there's a line here at the hip line is because it's showing you where the hip line is. So if you needed to if you needed a bigger size at your hip line, then this is the line that's going to show you where your hip line is. So you would want to do your transferring right here. You see how I printed two sizes because I am kind of in between, so I wanted to see which size I fit into. So if I was gonna grade for, let's say my hip was a medium but my waist is small, I would start at the small and realize that this is my hip line right here. So I would go whoop to my hip line, going out to my hip line because I want my hip line to be the larger size. So that's what this line is for. This dark bold line here is the line that you need to adjust for height. It tells you right here. Okay, so I'm gonna overlap 3/4 inch, which means I'm gonna put this top one, I cut, and I'm gonna place it right on top of the other one and use my ruler. Well, right now I have my measuring tape with me, but you would use your ruler and measure 3/4 inch, and there it is. Now, if you're taller than 5'10", you would do 3/4 inch, and here it is. You would add like a little piece of paper right here in the middle that is 3/4 inch wide to hold that spot for you, and you would go around it. Well, I'm smaller, so I'm gonna go ahead 3/4 inch. There it is. So measure on one side, measure on the other one, and make sure you're right. And there it is. Now I just cut out on the outside. For our next step, we need to actually measure our pattern piece. The first measurement we're gonna take is from the crotch seam to the knee. So I've got two lines here because I printed the two sizes, remember? So I'm gonna measure to the size that I'm actually making. So I'm gonna start at the crotch seam and go all the way to my line right there, which is 12 inches. So I wrote that down. So from crotch to line, knee line, knee line, it's 12 inches for my pattern. And then from knee line to the bottom of my pattern piece, ankle, it's 12 inches as well. So 12 and 12. So I'm gonna write that down, 12 and 12. All right, so here's my little paper that I wrote my information on, okay? So my crotch to knee is 14 inches. Remember we measured that earlier? And my knee to ankle is 16 inches. Remember we measured that earlier? I thought it was 15 when I measured, and then I remeasured and I'm like, no, it's 16. Okay, and I didn't do this when I made my first one, so that's why it's a little bit shorter. Okay, no, after you do that, to account for what the fabric does and seam allowance and everything you need to account for, you're going to subtract 2 inches from my crotch to knee, which is my upper inseam. I'm going to subtract 2 inches, which makes it a 12. I'm writing it right here. So this is my actual upper seam, 12 for the pattern piece. Okay, then I'm going to grab my knee to ankle. Now for my knee to ankle, I'm going to subtract 2.75. So 2 inches and 3/4. So 2.75. So that equals to 12.25. So I'm gonna write that on here. No, 13.25. See, I corrected my one spot and then I didn't correct my other one. I'm not very good with math, so you get what you get. Okay, 13.25. So I'm gonna write that 13.25. I did write it over here. I scratched it over here, didn't scratch it over here. Okay, 13.25. My lower inseam is 13.25, right? So what did we say the patterns were? My pattern in crotch to knee was 12. So guess what? It matches up, 12, 12. So that means I do nothing there, right? Okay, and then my knee to ankle for the pattern was 12. This is 12. Mine is what? 13.25. 13.25, so 13.25, which means that I have to add 1.25 inches. Ooh, that's horrible writing. This one, I didn't add my 1 here. Don't let that confuse you. Okay, so I've got an extra 1.25 inches that I need to add to the length of my pants. Again, on my lower inseam, okay? That's important to know because that's gonna tell you where you're going to cut your pattern and where you're going to add this fabric. Now, let's say that your crotch to knee ended up being a 12. Mine was a 12. If crotch to knee ended up being a 13, that's an inch difference, which means that you would have to add an inch on the upper seam. I hope this makes sense. If it doesn't, please comment below and we'll help you out. But what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to put this aside. I realize I don't have to add anything to my upper seam, but I have to add an 1.25 inches to my lower inseam, okay? So I'm gonna show you. This line right here that says the thigh length adjustment line. This line is to adjust for shorter or longer thighs. This is my upper inseam. So let's just write upper inseam. Horrible writing. Okay, doesn't matter. It's not gonna change anything. What happens here? Do I have to do something? No, yay! No, I don't, because it is the same, 12 inches. Now, like I said, if yours was 13 and you had to add that inch because it's an extra inch, then you would cut it right here and stretch it out an inch, or if you had to shorten it, you would overlap it, just like we did at the higher place. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. All right, now let's move our pattern down because we're going to the next measurement. What is this? This is the knee line. This is not where we cut our pattern. This is just show you where your knee is gonna fall at to take that measurement. So don't mind those lines. We're gonna go right here. It says calf length adjustment line. This is where you're gonna cut to make it shorter. So now remember, my knee to ankle was a longer. So I was supposed to add 1.25 inches, and this is where I went wrong last time. I did not add 1.25 inches. But guess what? I'm gonna do it now because I want my pattern, my next one, to be just perfect. So I'll cut out that line. Here's my piece. I'm gonna move it 1 inch. See how I've got that square right there? And then 1/4. okay? So then I could add like a little piece of paper right here in between that's 1.25 inches wide to help me. And when I cut my pattern, I'm gonna go around on the outsides and I'm gonna have that extra 1.25 inches to add my length. That is it. That's all you have to do. Just remember to follow the dark, bold lines. That is where you're going to cut. And we do have that chart in the pattern that tells you exactly what you add up, subtract. So if you're having difficulty and you don't remember all the numbers I gave you, go check that chart out. I'll post a picture right here. Okay? And it tells you exactly what the measurements are. So if you have any other question, please comment below or come find us on Facebook, where we have such an awesome community, and we can help you out if you have any other questions. Do not get stuck. Come find help. We love to help you so you can get the perfect pattern that fits just perfectly. All right. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Comment, like, share, subscribe if you haven't so you never miss out on our tips, trips, and sewing patterns. And I hope you have a good rest of your day. I don't know if I already said that. Anyway, bye.